Welcome to the course on cloud computing. Today we'll have our first lecture. So, as you might have seen the broad overview of this course. So, in this particular series of lectures, we will try to give an overall picture of what cloud computing is and what are its major components and what are the recent trends, and at the end maybe what are the different types of research opportunities or this trend of future trends in the cloud computing, right? So before going to the details of the cloud computing, we will try to have a quick overview of the course and the basic paradigm of computing. Now, if you discuss defined the ACM computing curriculum in 2005, as they defined the computing, it is general way we can define computing to mean as a mean to solve any goal-oriented activity, right? So that means it can include starting from hardware, software system for a wide range of purposes, and also making computing system intelligent using communication, finding, gathering information from relevant to any particular purpose, and so on. So if you look at there as anything where some sort of computing is needed, it falls under the computing paradigm. So this gives us a broad spectrum of things, not only in terms of resources, also in terms of the term or categorize a level of people who are going to use it, starting from a high-end researcher or a professional to a student to even to a housewife or a citizen in general. Look, want to use for it is benefit or something which serves particularly purpose. Before going to other overview of this computing, let us try to reiterate the type of codes or type of things we will like to cover. So initial lectures will have more things most likely today and maybe something on the next day. The introduction to cloud computing, which gives overview what that the NIST model says, what are the typical properties, characteristics, and advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing, or role of open standards. So whether there is a standardization need or things, they will look at more on cloud computing architecture, like what is the typical cloud computing stack moving towards a service oriented architecture. So what sort of service models are available in cloud, like typically infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service, or anything as a service. Later we will see that anything as a service, whether we can realize what are the different development models, right? In case of a cloud, how when I want to deploy, whether it is in what all the different deployment models of a cloud. Then another major aspect of the cloud is the service management. Like as whenever we try to purchase any service or whenever I want to leverage any service, there is a need of service management. Like from the consumer end, I would like to have what is the guarantee of minimal service from the provider end, the cloud provider or cloud service provider CSP want to see that maybe the profit or maybe any be that have this guarantee. What are the resources required at the back end to serve so much computers? So from the, if you look at the provider consumer for any type of services, not only cloud services, any type of services in our today life, we require some sort of agreement between the service provider and the consumer. What we say something called service level agreement. Like I want to say that my availability will be 100% or near 100% based on my thing. Like I say, when an exam is going on, I want to have a redundant service so that the availability of the resources is 100% or very nearer to 100%. Whereas when my practice session is going on, requirement of availability may come down to 90%. Now, based on the availability, the resource pooling or resource management will be done at the provider end, and the provider will charge based on type of his resources, type of availability, etc. Then there are issues for downtime. What will be? There are issues of a quality of service. There are several other issues that we will try to discuss under the paradigm of service level agreements and other things. There is another important aspects in cloud dominance or economy of using cloud computing. It may not be whether it is always good that if I use cloud, it will be beneficial, whether it is true like it is, as we see, like suppose if you want to compute 220 kilometers per day for young office or work, then it may be economical to purchase a car, right? But if you are coming, say, even 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers once in a month, it may not be economical. Then purchasing a car, right, it may be more economical than hiring a car, right? Similarly, when I should purchase, whether there is a relationship, whether there is an economic model behind it, or what if and or at all, how do I, from my say organization point of view, maybe from a particular say even point of view, whether I can see that whether purchasing or hiring a resources or is commercial, or what is the economical model of the things. So the type of things, economics is cloud or economy is cloud, we have to see. Another aspect is the resource management. Like this is a more in the service provider and right, or cloud service provider. How these resources will be managed, right? Like I. So what I see that I need to serve so many people. So what sort of resources I need to manage at the things. This is true for anything, like if I have a stationery shop, or which takes care of stationery is related to say academic things, like I say a notebooks, pen, etc. So how much I need to stock, or it depends on how much maybe my self projection and so on. I don't have some situation when I am striving for many store, or I should not have a situation when I am say my shop is full and I need to keep something outside the soft type of things, right? So it is, I should not have a overloading, So I have a proper resource management. So it is very tricky when we have a computing as a resource, or when I provide computing as a resource, then I have to manage several type of resources, like typically of I2 in a typical computing system, forget about cloud or anything. So what are the things we are basically looking for? Maybe one maybe or the processor or the CPU, maybe the processor or the CPU popularly, or maybe or one may be your working memory, or popularly the RAM or hard disk, and maybe network connectivity, and there are other several other resources which are there, right? So how much resources I need to maintain, manage, etc., right? So any resources has a inherent costing into the things. So if I need to manage huge volume of resources without utilization, then I have to incur what we say more cost on the resources are than in maintaining the things. So this appropriate to or optimally management of resources is a serious challenge, and they are here like to see that what are the different types of resources management issues in these particular cloud computing things. So other aspects of these cloud computing, one is the data management, right? So data is a very tricky things, like we look at this, how this data will be stored, managed, scalability, and cloud services over this data services over that. If it is a not only data, or it is a databases and data stores. So there is a separate type of looking at the data things in the cloud. And if it is a large scale of data processing, then I need to look at the how this data management will be there. So our environmental way of approaching normal data or database management system, whether it is still good for cloud, or whenever I want to give as a data storage or type of services. So what type of things I need to do for the things, like we are popularly using different types of storages as a service stuff, and in our day to day today life, like one of the popular things maybe Dropbox. So how things at the background need to be managed. So it is not like that I need to build a data services as all qualities, but at least looking at that what are the architecture and what are the issues in data management type of things. Another major aspect of a cloud is security, right? So your data is the some other place, you are computing in some other domains. So what will be the different types of security aspects? So at it has like what will be the security which has infrastructure as a thing, or what are data related or storage related security, because data is an important aspect of our all things, like what many people say that you can regenerate a or reinstall an application, but you cannot reinstall your data, right? Write a report of 100 or 10 pages, it gets system get crashed, and then data is lost. Along with the application, I can reinstall the OS. I can reinstall the word processing tool, but reinstalling the data is not possible. That particularly report is not possible. If not, if you have a recovery mechanism, expect them, right. Whenever I have one my personal system, like it may be personal computing desktop or in a laptop or wherever, then it is my responsibility to take backups, or I have redundancy things in that things. But whenever I store the data into the other places, Then one in one is something are saved and type of things in case of loss, or another typical things comes up, whether my data is being accessed or overwritten, right, somebody else right. So that means whether this, what is the security of this particular data. There are issues of identity and access management. So this is uh, another important aspect where particularly identity and access management of the collaborating parties need to be there. There are issues of access control, trust, reputation, risk. So there are several issues like how access control will be there, whether it is our standard access control mechanism, so whether role-based access control mechanism, or whatever things we work on the security, how much trust on having I have a cloud service provider, whether I trust a service provider one more than the service provider two, or whichever, whether it is how to calculate a particular service provider. So there are issues of a reputation. I want to look at a reputation. There are issues of a risk of losing data, losing application, losing yours, because your own customers like you are purchasing cloud to serve somebody, right. So if you may intern things, so this trust reputation risk goes somewhere what we say three nodes of strand. So there are interlinked have a in for any systems. They have a lot of what we say, a lot of influence and working of the whole system, right. So I need to assure that how it is assured in the cloud computing paradigm, that you see when they will try to look at some of the case studies or some what we say demo type of things on open sources and on commercial cloud, maybe some cloud simulators. There are various commercial clouds and things in the market. So we will try to see that what are the basic property or how they work criteria. Then there are open source cloud. So we are trying to see that how open source things are there. Even if you will, if it time permits, we will try to see that what are the different types of installing a open sources clouds, and there are few cloud simulations also. So we like to, if it is the time permits, we like to see the simulators, and at the end of things, as one of our major motivation of the this academic world to take things in the future, right? We want to see that something more in future. So we will try to look at the recent trend in cloud computing. So those who are interested in research or even some of the projects in the PC level and UC level, so they can have a pointer that what are the different aspects of sentences in cloud computing. There are people are talking about fog computing and other different technologies. So we like to see what are the different aspects of those things. So this is broadly the overall code structure. We will try to give a proper weightage based on the importance of the courses. We will give a more details as and when we will basically going through those lectures, right. You see this. Thank you, and we can see in the next session.